1. Zeus and Io. A life turned into a white cow. Io's life was supposed to be simple. She was the daughter of a river god. She grew up in a temple, and later became a priestess in Hera's sanctuary. She followed the rules, kept her vows, and genuinely believed that if she lived quietly and obediently, she'd be allowed to live in peace. But there was one problem. She was too beautiful. And among the gods, if Zeus notices you, never mind, is almost never an option. One night, a strange mist fell from the sky. Io didn't even have time to understand what was happening before she felt a presence. Unfamiliar, overwhelming, closing in around her. She remembered a man's voice, warm hands, and a face she never truly got to see. And when it was over, her life was already beyond saving. After that, Zeus began meeting her in secret. Among trees, by rivers, in the quiet places where no one watched. He didn't take her away. He didn't promise her anything. He simply appeared and disappeared, again and again. Until one day, the sky suddenly darkened. And Zeus's first thought wasn't how to protect Io. It was how to protect himself. He sensed Hera approaching, and in a rush of panic, he transformed Io into a small, snow-white heifer. Hera understood immediately. Perfectly clear weather, yet clouds and mist gathering over this one spot. And right there, a beautiful white cow that looked too perfect to be ordinary. Hera didn't expose him on the spot. She simply smiled, praised the cow for being adorable, and casually asked Zeus to give it to her as a gift. Zeus, guilty and cornered, couldn't even bring himself to refuse. And just like that, Io was led away. Hera handed her to Argus, the all-seeing guardian, 100 eyes that never fully slept, day or night. The message was obvious. Zeus was not coming near her again. Zeus eventually sent Hermes to rescue her. And yes, Hermes succeeded. His music lulled Argus into sleep, and with one swift strike, it was over. But the story didn't end there. Hera took Argus's 100 eyes and set them into the feathers of a peacock's tail. And then she sent a gadfly, a relentless, biting insect, to torment the white cow night and day. Io was driven into endless flight, across land after land, never allowed to stop, never allowed to rest. Only when she finally reached the banks of the Nile, did Zeus lower himself enough to beg Hera for mercy. He swore he would never touch Io again, never have anything to do with her. Only then did Hera loosen her grip. Io was allowed to return to human form. In a foreign land, she gave birth and was honored by the locals like a goddess. And Zeus? Yes, he saved her. But everything she lost was never something a rescue could truly return. 2. Zeus and Callisto, a mother in the stars. Callisto was one of Artemis's most trusted companions. She had sworn an oath, lifelong purity, devotion to the hunt, loyalty to the goddess. This wasn't forced on her. It was the life she chose, and she took pride in it. And of course, that was exactly the kind of person Zeus set his sights on. Some versions say Zeus approached her disguised as Artemis. Other versions say he appeared openly, using divine authority and sheer power. Either way, the result was the same. Callisto became pregnant. She didn't dare speak of it. She returned to Artemis as if nothing had happened and tried to hide the truth. But the belly grows. Time exposes everything. And when Artemis saw the truth by a river in the forest, she didn't listen to a single explanation. A broken vow was betrayal. Callisto was cast out. Alone in the wilderness, she gave birth to a son, Arcus. But she barely had time to become a mother. At some point, she was transformed into a bear. Was it Hera? Artemis? Zeus himself? Different stories give different answers, but for Callisto, it didn't matter. The outcome was the same. She lost her human body, and she lost her child. Years passed. Arcas grew up and became a hunter. One day, deep in the forest, he came face to face with a bear that didn't run. It didn't attack either. It stepped closer, slowly, carefully, with an expression in its eyes that Arcas couldn't understand. Arcas raised his spear. And in that single moment, Zeus intervened. He didn't let the truth be spoken. He didn't let the recognition happen. He simply reached down and placed Callisto into the sky, turning her into the constellation Ursa Major. Then he lifted Arcas too, turning him into Ursa Minor. Mother and son, together forever. And yet, forever unable to truly know each other. Hera added one last curse. Those constellations would never sink below the horizon to rest in the waters like other stars. So once again, Zeus solved the problem. And no one ever returned to the life they were supposed to have. 3. Antiope. She only wanted to live as a warrior. Among the Amazons, Antiope wasn't the kind of person hungry for power. She didn't dream of becoming queen. She didn't want to rule anyone. She simply wanted to live like a warrior. And when the time came, die like one. If no outsiders had ever arrived, her story might have ended quietly that way. But then Hercules and Theseus came. They came to the Amazons for Queen Hippolyta's belt. At first, it almost seemed peaceful. Hippolyta agreed to give it, and even led Hercules into her own quarters. It looked like the whole thing might end without bloodshed. And then the chaos began. Hera disguised herself as an Amazon and spread a rumor through the tribe. Hercules had captured the queen, and he was about to conquer them all. The moment the rumor took hold, warriors gathered and stormed the palace. Antiope was among them. She believed she was rushing in to save her queen. She had no idea the situation was already spiraling out of control. When Penthesilea burst into the room and saw Hippolyta with Hercules, there was no turning back. Hercules believed he'd been betrayed. In fury, he killed Hippolyta, seized the belt, and fought his way out. And in the confusion, Theseus saw his chance. He captured Antiope and dragged her away, onto a ship, and out to sea. Antiope didn't let go of her hatred right away. On the ship, she tried more than once to kill Hercules in revenge for her queen. Each time Theseus stopped her. Strangely, he didn't treat her like an enemy or a trophy. He spent time with her. He taught her to sail, sparred with her, talked with her. And even when she fell silent, he didn't force her to choose a side. Slowly, Antiope began to waver. She listened as Theseus spoke about Hercules' past, about how the hero who looked invincible was, in truth, haunted by guilt for his entire life. And eventually, Antiope said only one thing. If his guilt is going to follow him for the rest of his life, then maybe that's enough. When they reached Athens, Theseus intended to send her home. But Antiope hesitated. She stayed. And in the stories, she became the only Amazon said to have married, becoming Theseus's wife. But her choice didn't spare her from war. The Amazons attacked Athens to take her back. In the final battle, Antiope fought beside Theseus. And when an arrow flew toward him, she didn't hesitate. She stepped in front of it. She died on the battlefield. Not for glory, but for the person she had chosen. For Zeus and Ganymede, taken then packaged as honor. Of all Zeus's many scandals, Ganymede is the most unusual. He wasn't a goddess. He wasn't a mortal woman. He was the youngest son of the king of Troy, a boy so beautiful it almost didn't seem fair. One day, Ganymede was tending sheep on Mount Ida. For him, it was just another ordinary day. Clear skies, quiet flock, a pleasant wind. Maybe he was thinking about what to eat for dinner. Then the sky darkened. A massive eagle burst from the clouds. So fast you wouldn't even have time to react. That eagle was Zeus. By the time Ganymede was brought to Olympus, he was still shaking with fear. But Zeus didn't care about his terror. He wrapped the truth in sweet words, telling the boy this wasn't kidnapping, it was being chosen, not lost honor. Then Zeus granted him eternal youth. He would never age, never grow old, never die. It sounds like a gift. But the price was simple. He could never go home again. Zeus even gave him an official role. Ganymede became the cupbearer of the gods, replacing Hebe, the goddess of youth. And that decision was practically a slap in Hera's face, because Hebe wasn't a stranger. She was Hera's daughter. In other words, Zeus pushed his wife's daughter off a divine throne to make room for his new favorite, and expected everyone to pretend it was normal. How do you think Hera took that? To calm Ganymede's father, Zeus sent Hermes with divine horses and lavish gifts, and told the king, "Your son has been granted immortality. This is the highest honor." But to a father, that was just another form of goodbye. At the feasts of Olympus, Ganymede carried a golden cup through the halls of the gods. Forever young, forever at Zeus's side. And Hera's eyes always stayed on him, cold and unblinking. Zeus enjoyed himself, but he also understood something. This would never truly become peaceful. So he made a final choice. One that looked romantic, but was in truth quietly cruel. He placed Ganymede into the sky, turning him into the constellation Aquarius. From then on, Ganymede wasn't only a lover, and not only a cupbearer. He became an eternal symbol. Zeus could point to the heavens and say, "Look, he's up there. He belongs to the sky forever." But for Ganymede, that meant something else. He would never go home.